When you said the image from NASA, so they're showing us a picture of the Earth. Is that real or is that something?
They got caught. I've got there was a guy that named Bart Sibrel, and he used to work. I think he worked for ABC News, one of the big companies. But he went out on his own and started doing documentaries. Well, he was doing a documentary on the moon landing. All right, and he sent NASA a request for footage to use in his documentary. Right. That's a normal thing you do, right? You want footage and you want the permission to use it, you send requests. Well, either a whistleblower at NASA or somebody did something by mistake, but they sent him about 11 minutes of footage from Apollo 11. On the very days they claimed to be halfway to the moon, they were in low Earth orbit, sitting still, not orbiting at 17,500 miles an hour. They were sitting still, faking a picture of the Earth, turning out the lights in the cabin, using a circular window of the Earth below, and putting in a piece of cardboard in there to make the Terminator line. They got busted. It was Buzz Aldrin. It was them. Apollo footage. But they've been busted so many times. For instance, the Apollo 17 picture, they said was the entire lit side of the Earth from the moon, right? So it means you should see the whole thing. When you go to find out, you take that photograph they took, and you go to that time, you go back to that time and date stamp site, and you put in what part of the Earth's lit up at this time of the day on this, they couldn't get it all. They can't get high enough to get a picture of the whole thing. The guy who did the blue marble, remember the iPhones came out and they had the picture of the Earth, and it was the blue marble, they called it, right? Mr. Blue Marble, the guy that did it, created, he's called a data visualizer at NASA. Here's what he said. He said it's photoshopped because it has to be. That's him. That's why you see NASA put out, they don't say they're pictures. They say they're composite images.
Composite images, okay.
They
so yeah. The moon. So I watched the show on that one time. So the moon landing, it was all a hoax.
Yeah. Yeah, they couldn't do it. I'll tell you one reason. Number one, that we know they couldn't do it. Because, okay, they claim that they sent back a television signal to the Earth from the moon, right? 240,000 miles. Engineers and electrical engineers have said, and I have the books by them, they've said point blank, there is no way that in 1969 they had enough power, they could take enough batteries or power generation to the moon to send a television signal back 240,000 miles. Impossible. Number two, they told us the moon has 1/6 gravity, right? And so the Eagle that landed on the moon had a 10,000-pound thrust engine that they had to land, right? Go back and look at the pictures. Every picture underneath the lunar lander, there's no blast crater under there for that to land. There's no dust even on the moon dust on the landing pads. There's nothing. There's shadows going multiple directions, meaning there's multiple light sources. Number one, many times the dust sticking to them. Dust to stick to you has to have moisture in the air. Has to have moisture on your clothing, right? Yeah. The moon's supposed to have no atmosphere, no moisture. And yet the dust was sticking to them. The moon is supposed to rotate 15 feet per second, right? That's how much it's turning. So when Apollo 16, when astronaut Young jumps up in the air and does the salute of the flag and lands back down, that's at least a second or two. He should have landed with no atmosphere and the moon spinning at 15 feet per second. He should have landed a minimum of 15 feet or 30 feet away from where he was. He did not. Yeah. I could go on and on and on.
That's a question. The computer in our car today has more navigational systems than back then. That's the GPS in there.
Oh, we've had GPS since before we put up satellites in 19. So we do have satellites. I do believe that. We have satellites, but they're on balloons. They're balloon satellites. And I've got all the documents from the declassified Freedom of Information Act requests. It's all balloons, brother. in the atmosphere. But they don't even use those. We've had a system called the LORAN system that ships that we used in World War II, how to navigate. It's all land-based. And get this. I have a ex-Special Forces friend of mine, and he used to go on missions to extract certain political figures from certain countries. Right?
All right.
Yeah. And he said they were on a mission one time, and he was the radio guy, and he had the sat phone. And he said that, his job was basically they would get this guy out. If they were seen, he was to radio in and let them know we've either been seen and we're going to have a hot extraction, or we've not been seen and we're going to stealth out of here, right? Well, they were seen. They were under fire. He's looking down the sat phone, no signal, no signal, no signal, no signal. So he doesn't call in. Again, choppers come in. It's hot. They're getting shot at. But they get out. He gets back. The brass comes in, debriefing. Sergeant, why did you not alert us? Why did you not call in? He said, I never got a satellite signal. They laughed. All the brass looked at each other and laughed and said, it's all land-based communication. Next time, just make the call.
Really?
Yes. Yes. They know. I've talked to an Air Force captain, ex-lieutenant colonels that ran the entire European theater and Asian theater, radar experts. Yeah, it's flat, man. It's flat. We've been lied to about everything, my friend. Everything.
So, the planes only go up so high, so there's nothing. When you said it's all land-based, no communications are going through those satellites?
No, here's what happens now. When you get up to, all right, you got to look at it like this, okay? God said he made a firmament dome, right? So, and it's solid. Now, we don't know how high that is. It could be anywhere from, somewhere, my estimations from what I think is probably about 500, maybe 600,000 feet max, all right? At 73 miles, and I've researched this out. I share this in the book. Even NASA admits, pretty much 73 miles is where everything changes. Okay, amateur rockets like the Go Fast rocket have been shot up, and all this stuff. Physicists, everybody agrees at 73 miles there's a change. It's not outer space like we've been taught. It's not this empty vacuum and we escape the Earth's atmosphere. That's all nonsense. What it is it reaches about negative 465 degrees at 73 miles. What happens at that range and above that range is what's called a superfluid gas. The ancients called it the ether, okay? But basically it's almost like it's a very dense, almost water-like, but gas. And it's very dense, which is why they have to have two-stage rockets. They have one stage to get them to that point. The second stage, they have to plow into it. I have video footage of one of Elon Musk's launch from California, and you can see where it changes, where it goes into the blue ether gas when it leaves the oxygen-rich environment and moves into that. It looks like they're plowing through blue water. Yeah.
So are all the big nations, are all of them involved in this? Like Russia?
Yeah, they all know. Now a Russian cosmonaut who was from Poland, they asked him not too long ago, is the Earth flat or is it a ball? He said, oh, it's flat. So there's been whistleblowers to tell the truth about this. But most of your astronauts, like Buzz Aldrin and those guys, were high-level Freemasons, and they were high-level occultists. And of course, NASA was headed up by Werner von Braun, who was an SS officer who was deep into the occult with the Vril Society before he left Germany and came over here.